I believe Aquaman needs more water in its film. And with the right amount of water, I think Aquaman 2 could just barely break even. In the current superhero flop era, it's very impressive just breaking even, only if they listen to me. I've been watching a ton of Aquaman media, and I believe there's a correlation between how much water there is and how tense the film is. In Justice League, the animated series, Aquaman is handcuffed underwater and his son is falling to his death. I remember this scene so well just because of how tense it was. I was genuinely curious, how's he going to get out of this one? I feel like it's because he's underwater and you get this false sense of security because he's Aquaman. He runs shit underwater. His whole thing is water. He's like the ocean master man or whatever. Totally not the baby. But what I'm trying to say is, Marty was right. These superhero films lacked tension, an essential part of filmmaking, and they're bloated with these scenes, setting up characters for the DCEU, which is just doing great. It's doing just perfectly fine. Really paid off. But nah, Black Manta was a really fun, well done character in his own right. So what's your problem, bro? Why are you so mad? My problem is, his character kind of breaks the structure of his film. There's too many characters with different motivations in this movie. Even though some of their motivations align, they go about it completely different ways. Aquaman wants a trident. Orm wants to bring the seven seas together or fight them. It wasn't very clear. Black Manta wants to kill Aquaman. This creates two, almost three films in this one movie. A mediocre Indiana Jones movie and an okay Fight for the Throne movie. Black Manta's revenge arc kind of fits in the latter, but if the characters had like the same goal and went about it the same way, it could just be one good movie that's not like poorly structured. Like, it's kind of funny how pointless Manta is without the sequel. The bro loses and then gets ignored. And since this movie is so poorly structured, that would typically mean it has a lot of boring exposition and its pacing is really bad. That's not true. The pacing is pretty good actually. James Wan, the horror director, had this brilliant idea to jump scare the audience. Anytime there's too much explosion, it actually works really well and is really great gag in the film. And it's like the only part of the film I actually remembered. But it did create a problem. That solution to the problem created another problem. Now Aquaman is a passive character and his own origin story. He doesn't make choices that affects the story. He simply reacts to them. Normally this would really hurt the story, but since Aquaman's doing the refusal to become the hero trope, it kind of works. And I kind of had some ideas on how to make it better. Instead of having King Orm want to become the king by uniting or fighting, I still don't know, the seven seas, he could have just went for the Trident. It's a little bit of a generic storyline, but it would make the structure of the film a lot better. Or he even could have had like Black Manta go get it for him, so like stories aligned. And in this hypothetical story, you could have Black Manta wanting to kill Aquaman be like a side objective, like a in conflict to King Orm. More conflict, more better. That is the fundamental rule of filmmaking. But like with this hypothetical story, you'd have a lot less exposition dumps since they're going for the same goal. A lot more opportunities to give the exposition naturally, visually, or on a completely different hypothetical story. You could have had Aquaman trying to reunite the seven seas. That would actually work way better because like he kind of does that, even though like, why the fuck do they follow him just because he has some fucking trident? That barely makes sense. I guess that's conflict for the sequel. But that hypothetical story, you could have had like Arthur trying to balance out both sides, the sea people and the man people, sea dwellers, whatever. The movie's dumb. This is about fish, talking fish. Man, 0 out of 10. Why the fish play drums? That's dumb. 0 out of 10. I hate it. James Gunn supremacy. Actually, I think this is a great time to say I don't hate this film. I was like half joking. I think it's a pretty decent film. Very serviceable. Overall, good time. Not too mad at it. But this cannot happen in the sequel again. As king, Arthur must push the story forward and make choices on his own and not just be a completely passive character. All that would make the sequel decent. So to recap, in order to succeed, Aquaman cannot give us boring exposition dumps since it can't use its cheat code anymore. And it has to have tension. There must be believable stakes. So more water pressure. As much water pressure as possible. You know what they say? Pressure makes diamonds. That is true 100% of the time. And all that just to barely break even. Wait, let me check the budget real quick. Okay, never mind. It's probably not making this money back. Okay, if my directions are followed exactly, I promise it'll make more than the Marvels. I'm a betting man. If I'm wrong, comment it down below. But now, on a real note, I do think it needs to be creative and original. The first one had cool ideas that worked, and I think the fact that the first one had the same story as Black Panther kind of hurt it. Like, bar for bar, they stole his whole float. But if you're original and creative, you can't copy. And original, you will never feel bland. And that's my deep dive into Aquaman.
Let's take a deep dive.
But we're taking a deep dive. We're getting a deep dive, if you will. Yuck.
So let's dive in.
Take a deep dive into the film.
Yeah, I'm a fucking hack, don't listen to me. But you should subscribe to this idiot. Pretty please with the cherry on top. And you should like the video, share it with your friends, yell at them, spam them. But yeah, thanks for watching. Love you.